Hello, Pokefans. Welcome back to a brand new podcast episode. My name is Matt, and welcome to Team Unconventional. I am joined by my gracious hosts, JT.
Hey, excited to be here for yet another one. I might become a permanent co-host.
What is this, Mike? And Mike, the Duke himself, the Grace.
Hello, my peasants. It is so nice to be back with you. I can't wait to hear everything that these two have to talk about this week.
You act like you don't have a good say what goes on. Anyway, we'll continue on with our season coverage of Pokemon VGC and TCG. Mike has done a lot of playing in Pokemon TCG Live, and he's currently in Great Ball, and mine and John's coverage for VGC for 2023. Now we're going to group it all together just so that we can kind of keep it all cohesive, because there was a lot of stuff that happened in 2023 and what our plans are going to be for 2024. And we want to kind of just continue to ball with there. And then we're going to end the segments of today's discussion by seeing what the team is going to be looking at for the Master Ribbon Challenge at the end. So let's go ahead and just open up the floor for VGC for 2023. JT, go ahead and get started.
Well, I think the biggest reason you and I agreed to make it a season recap is because while there was a lot that happened in the world of Pokemon this past season, you and I participated in very little. They didn't even open localized play until after our first and only regionals during the spring here in Portland. But we're really excited about what happened over the season. I think you and I worked the hardest we've ever worked during a Pokemon season to participate in the regional that year. I know I was number 14 in line when Pokemon Violet and Scarlet dropped. So I was a day one adapter, beat it quicker than I've ever beat a game, and really just fell in love with the new gimmick of changing any Pokemon to any type through terrestrialization. Pretty quickly after beating the game with a Breloom, with Spore and False Swipe, so catching everything, I recognized the power of Annihilate and Beat Up. Because when we first started playing, Terrakion and Whimsicott Beat Up was really popular. Not really like successful at a high level, but really popular. Annihilate having that same kind of strategy, except for rather than raising the attack stat, which can be lowered, raising the base power of a same type attack bonus move. And then to top it off, our beat up users have things like Trick Room or Friend Guard or Tailwind. So it was really impressive. So that Pokemon plus Among Us, who I kind of categorize as the best overall VGC player right next to Incineroar of all time. Made for a really compelling 3-team guy. And then so I ended up playing them for about the first 6 months of play. I think you were pretty similar, that you picked a core and played it for the whole first chunk of the game to prepare for our regional this season. Is that right, Matt?
Absolutely. So I've always been loving the whole dynamic of speed tiers. I love that Torkoal Lilligant was one of the highest used Pokemon in, at least in the Portland regional. It won it. So I love that. Well, it's not Lilligant, but it was Jumpluff, but it still had the same idea.
Yeah, Chlorophyll and Sun and the really powerful photosynthesis users. Certainly.
Absolutely. So like I've always loved having a speed tier, which is what makes at least my type of play is as hyper offensive as I possibly can. With speed, I feel like if you have Tailwind where the speed doubles, you could potentially put EVs in different stats and allows you to put out a little bit more extra damage because you're going to survive or maybe become glass cannons. And I think that's like the major weakness to my team specifically, is that I tend to pick glass cannons under Tailwind.
Yeah, but if anybody is familiar with your channel, they know that speed is the number one thought in your mind. If it's not fast, it does not get the cash. That's a t-shirt, by the way. Write that down.
Money.
So like, yeah, with my team building, like I love the fact that Tailwind has always been one of the things I've gone to Talonflame was used heavily in 2023 for me. As a matter of fact, the team that I brought to the regional was a team that I had actually lost a considerable amount on the ladder. And I was like, I want to do this too. But I also went a very special route with my Garchomp. I decided to walk in with Terra Fairy, realizing that everyone was going to be using the Runic Pokemon, and everyone except for Chi-Yu was weak against Fairy attacks. So I wanted to have a Terra Blasting Terra Fairy Garchomp. Besides doing Garchomp things and killing my Pokemon on my side of the field, he'd also Terra Fairy. So it knocked out Tinglu, it knocked out Wu Chen, it knocked out Qian Pao. It did all of those things, plus having getting rid of its resistance or weaknesses. So I was no longer times 4 to ice. I was no longer weak against fairy. It was no longer, I have to be, Terra Fire to withstand the Will-O-Wisp. Like, I built his EV specifically to be able to be calced in a way to where I was still doing a surmountable amount of damage regardless of what situation I was in, and that made me play Life Orb instead of Clear Amulet regarding that team. So it was really, really interesting.
Why don't we actually, just so it's a standalone podcast, why don't you go over each of the 6 that you brought in? We'll kind of just touch on the regional the most, I think, for this 2023 recap, because I think you and I played in one event during the actual season proper after it, and that was the local premier challenge the following week. So why don't you go ahead and let the people know the 6 Pokemon that you had brought in for the Portland regional.
If I can remember them all, let's see.
I could start if you needed some time to bring up the document.
Yeah, go ahead and start, because I have to bring it up.
So I will start with Annihilate. I ran Annihilate with the leftovers, with the traditional Terra Fire, Terra Water, Terra Steel, Terra Fire were all 3 colors that I was playing throughout the first 6 months of the game, but I landed on Fire and a little bit slower because I fell in love with another Pokemon that made this more Trick Room flexible. So rather than going for the fast ape, I went for the bulky ape with leftovers and couldn't be burned. The traditional Drain Punch, Protect, Rage Fist, and Bulk Up set that I think is really one of the best ways to play them. It's 1 point faster in speed than a traditional bulky set at the time. That's kind of changed by this point. And when you terastallized it to Fire, it survived both the Dazzling Gleam and the Heat Wave that were boosted by the Beat of Ruin Chi-Yu Pokemon. That was a very popular opening against what's referred to as Mouse Ape. Its partner being Mousehold, which runs typically a Ghost Terastallization to avoid Fake Out, and Safety Goggles to avoid Rage Powder redirects and being spored. I actually ran the Safety Goggles but changed it to Terra Flying. This made for some interesting Annihilate Mousehold mirror matches that weren't necessarily present prior. The biggest one being typically 2 players will look to Drain Punch after bulk upping on your Annihilate because Mousehold does not survive it, and you go into Ghosts, but it leaves you susceptible to a super effective Rage Fist. With Flying, you resist the fighting attack, and you take neutral damage to the fist. So it makes for some kind of head games. Aside from that, incredibly bulky. Mousehold gives half damage to its partner Pokemon, and has an attack called Super Fang, which takes half damage to any Pokemon for 90% accuracy. I might have clicked Super Fang 15 times in my 2 days of the Portland Regional. I love that move. The Pokemon that really brought the team together, though, was Farigiraf. Farigiraf stops priority attacks, so things like Extreme Speed, Sucker Punch, Aqua Jet, Jet Punch, all of these attacks become not helpful against the other player, and it's a very bulky Pokemon with high special attack all in its base, so you can really change the EVs to do a great many things. This set would actually survive the Dark Pulse Moonblast combination after terrestrializing into grass, which triggers Trick Room, and at the +1 from its held item, which is Throat Spray, it can actually one-hit KO Fluttermanes, even some of the bulkiest Fluttermanes. There were many games in the regional and beyond that I won just because the opponent did not know this interaction. Among Us, I think anybody listening to this podcast would know that plays VGC heavily, that Among Us is one of the most versatile things. It has a 100% accurate sleep move, which prevents the opponent from making any moves for 1 to 3 turns. It has an effect that recovers health if it switches out. It has a redirecting move that make all Pokemon target it to give safe haven to the other Pokemon. It has moves that heal and do damage depending on who you target. It's a very, very strong Pokemon, especially in this format where you can change it from grass poison to water or electric or even dark. I went with water because honestly I expected this to maintain Palafin dominance, but Portland was actually the first event that Palafin lost his presence. It was an all-time low and he kind of hasn't recovered. A lot of people, I think, found ways to defeat Palafin right before this event, and so no one had any confidence in it and went for other things instead, like Azumarill or even completely different strategies. We saw it won by Sun, which was so cool because I watched Matt on the stream play Sun a lot. And then the last 2 Pokemon really had to be versatile offensive threats. I played with Fluttermane because Fluttermane is the most dominant Pokemon of Generation 9. It has high speed, high special attack, and high special defense. So you really can only come at it one way reliably, and it is going to hit you for a lot of damage. This is before Urshifu, and so I got to play a set that used its speed, booster energy, and outsped a lot of things unexpectedly, and score big KOs just by terrestrializing Fairy for the ×2 stab bonus and Dazzling Gleaming. And then the last Pokemon was actually a real sleeper, Tyranitar with Assault Vest. Tyranitar is a great Pokemon because right now we're in the middle of a weather revolution. You have the winner of the Portland Regional Sun team, but you also have teams doing very well that do rain, and now in Regulation D, snow. So having a Pokemon that resets that is critical, but it also gives you sneaky plays, like things like Focus Sash no longer trigger the way that they're intended to, because at the end of the turn, many of those Pokemon will just be KO'd. And with the Assault Vest, Tyranitar naturally shakes off Dazzling Gleams and Moonblast from Fluttermanes because Rock Pokemon gain a 1.5 boost in special defense. So that plus the Assault Vest gives you a gigantic amount of special defense without any effort value investment, allowing you to play things like the set that had 244 in attack. I would say that the sets that run the Choice Band are really good. I lost in a head-to-head against a Choice Band set, but I prefer the Assault Vest because you can change the move even though you're locked into the move, and it doesn't mean you have to terrestrialize out of the Fluttermane matchup because you have the additional special defense. So these 6 Pokemon were all incredibly valuable in their own ways, but Annihilate, I was so proud to be one of the 3 Day 2s representatives in Portland Regional with Annihilate. So that's kind of my team. I played it the next week at our only other event, so unless you guys have any questions about it, that's kind of my breakdown of the team.
That's a pretty solid breakdown of it. I know you've been working with that team for a very long time, and sometimes it was really hard to combat on my end, especially with that stupid Farigiraf. Stupid. Anyway.
Oh, Farigiraf is so versatile. I think people really sleep on it. I think right now with Dragonite roaming so high, it's better than ever.
It's It wouldn't be so used if people stopped using priority, but priority beats everything. You can literally be stuck in a trick room and still go first because priority moves are still a thing. I love and hate it at the same time. It's like a love-hate relationship. But I do have my team for the original that I walked in with, and I can tell you that some of them have definitely changed after the regional, and when they were used in the tournament after, they served really, really well. It caught people by surprise, and again, like something that I wasn't expecting at the tournament, but it was pretty interesting nonetheless. So my team comp had ended up being Talonflame, Garchomp, Chien Pao, Fluttermane, Rotom Wash, and Amoonguss. Now, the typical open for my particular team is to bring in Talonflame. Tailwind for me was everything. Chien Pao gave a lot of support to not only Garchomp, Talonflame, but it just lowered down like my opponent's defenses, but it also lowered down mine. But since I have Tailwind on the field, I felt like I didn't have to worry about my defenses being so low when I would outspeed them 90% of the time. And again, when coming against teams that have like Trick Room or be able to stop me from using Tailwind, wasn't like, it was a big deal, but at the same time it wasn't, because my Talonflame not only was Terra Ghost, but also had the Covert Cloak. So even if people would fake out my Talonflame, I'd still get the Tailwinds off, but it wouldn't get the Gale Wings ability proc. And for those who don't know, Gale Wings gives your flying type moves priority if you have 100% HP. So when Fake Out came out and hit him, it broke Gale Wings, but I still got the Tailwind off. And he's built specifically for speed. So a lot of the time he was still able to get up there and use Tailwind that allowed his partner to attack. In the Portland Regional, I was very surprised that anyone else was going to walk in with Rotom Wash. And I was like whistling to myself in the arena. I was like, there's so many people using Rotom. I wasn't expecting anyone to use Rotom. The way that I built Rotom was completely off-brand. He's Terra Steel, and it's done by design because I didn't want to do Terra Electric. Levitate helps him with that, but I have him Choice Spect, and I forgot to give him Terra Blast. And I was like, nope, my team's done. I'm not going to change it. I could have before I submitted the team, but I didn't. And I was like, I'm just going to run with it. It was my bad, but he didn't lose me games a lot of the time. He actually won me a couple of games because of the fact that Dark Pulse helped out really well. Shadow Ball was really, really useful, and Thunderbolt was the thing that I used. I added Dark Pulse for the potential flinch, and it does happen. A lot of my losses in the regional were literally by luck of Rock Slide flinches, which Garchomp that I ran didn't have that, but it did have Terra Blast, Dragon Claw, Earthquake, and Protect. Protect on Garchomp was beneficial for me, but I also knows that a lot of my teammates didn't have that, so I was trying to figure out a way to deal with my opponents. The entire time that I had this team, I hardly ever used Amoonguss, and that's mainly because I don't know how to play him really well. And because I don't know how, I can't put him into a team or get him set up in a way to where it's actually beneficial for anybody. So he just stayed in the back. He could have won me a lot of games by just sitting there and sporing, but for some reason, I didn't use him.
It's so crazy that you and I both went in with Among Us and had completely different experiences, because he for sure wins me 3 or 4 different rounds.
Yeah, well, I didn't bring him. I was like, speed. I gotta go fast. I was like, I have to go faster than you. If I attack first, it means I win first. And that was kind of like my mindset the entire time. So we have Fluttermane, which obviously John had said that was a pivotal Pokemon. I love Fluttermane. Very fast Pokemon. I had mine was Wise Glasses, which was catching people off guard a little bit. If it wasn't Garchomp, it was literally my Fluttermane with Wise Glasses. That 10% to special attacks is nothing to scoff at, but we didn't have the plates that we do today. But it was still really good because it gave me an open to use any move that I wanted. Thunderbolt became a staple on Fluttermanes now, just because of not only Palafin, but Gyarados and Iron Bundles of the world. Certainly. That people were using. So yes.
Yeah, we're in complete agreement on that. I think that's a big reason why Palafin dried up. His Thunderbolt was became that staple on Flutterman.
Yeah, and he's going to be outspeeding Palafin so much. And even right, if people still use Palafin today, people know how to outgo from Palafin. They know how to deal with him. So even now, Dragonite with its priority extreme speed is a huge thing to deal with. For my team especially, I can't hardly ever get over that set, and I try so hard. And the only ways that I've been able to figure out how to beat it is to literally like Will-O-Wisp him, but I don't have anyone that can on my team currently. So if you watch my videos, you'll see me lose to a Dragonite team all the time. If they have, yeah, it's really, really hard to get through. But until people figure out a way to get through Dragonite will see less use. But right now, no one can, because the thing that gives him the biggest driver is multi-scale.
Certainly. He's bulky while having maximum investment in offense.
Yeah.
Because you're often playing it with the Choice Band and the full Adamant 252 next to Chin Pao. Really makes things like Inity and Farigiraf appealing.
Very appealing. Because it's really, really hard to even fight someone that says, hey, I'm going to attack faster than you guys regardless. And if you can give Chien Pao helping hand, Jesus, like...
Yeah, thank you, developers, for not doing that.
Yeah, thank God that you can't do that. It's really tough to be able to battle him regardless. But if you could put Dragonite next to anyone else and he will still be a problem, because he's still going to be Terra Normaled and Choice Banded Extreme Speed, which attacks faster than most things in the game.
Yeah, that 134 base attack is got to be one of the highest that we see even today.
So like, but that's in the week after when I brought in the team.
Oh, hang on.
Go ahead.
Can we talk about day 2 real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Oh man. So I definitely left the arena at an all-time high because I had reached day 2, and 100% the Pokemon judge professor told me what time to be in at 7, and I did not listen. I assumed it was at 9, and so I woke up at my 6 a.m. I had myself a nice steak breakfast ready to go, and me and Matt leave at 7:30. And I look at my my little round thing to see if they posted it early, and it turned out I had missed the first round entirely. So I made peace with pretty much being out of the tournament. I get there and they say I got there within the amount of time where it was only around 1 loss, but by that time my poor mentality was awestruck, and I proceed to lose every single round after that. So I go down in 2023 as a barely day 2er, ranked 38th, and much disgrace. Hope to do better next season.
Well, what's really funny is you did win 1, but only because the person that you gave the win to did that to you. So
well, they did not show up at all. Yeah. They dipped for the largest premier challenge ever in the state of Oregon, which was closed team sheet best of 1, so was not worth the effort. Shout out, by the way, on day 2 for Gilbert. He is an Italian player that is really cool. He was my last opponent. Went to game 3, went to time after 25 turns on the 3rd game. Shout out to Wo Chen and his underrated set. I follow him. He was the reason I started a Twitter and started following him immediately. So if you're listening to this, Gilbert, shout out.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't make it to day 2. I was kind of like the cheerleader, and I took all the notes that I had for the 2 days and was compiling it. And yeah, there is some definite changes that I could have made to the team.
What was your ending record?
I think I went 3-6.
3-6. That's close. Pokemon is such a razor thin margin kind of game that's close.
Yeah. I should have went like, honestly, I should have went like 4-5 or even 5-4, but I got flinched in one whole match and couldn't do anything. So because I got flinched from Rock Slide, I couldn't do hardly anything there. And then there was a person, I don't remember their name. I think they were using the Dragonite Chien Pao combo, And even though that I got through it, because this was a completely different team, I wasn't able to knock them out for some reason, and they ended up taking the win. Most of my matches ended up going to a third game. There wasn't a match where they swept me 2-0. So
That's something to really hang your hat on, I feel like.
It is, because like you can end up fighting or playing against like Joseph Ugarte or even Wolf Glick, and going to game 3 against someone of that caliber is still really, really good regardless of what you bring into the team. It just shows the level of skill that you're willing to give and your knowledge that you've accumulated throughout your entire time playing the game. Because it could have been one of two different ways, right? You could have walked in and get 2-0'd and swept, and you're like, okay, well, that's because of this. But you fought and you outplayed them. And even like some tournaments that I do now, some people were like, well, I lost game 1 on purpose. I'm like, but why though? Why would you purposely lose game 1, especially when an open team sheet where your whole reasoning of losing game 1 is to get reads when you have all the information in front of you? It seems kind of
I think in the off season, that would be a great idea to practice playing from behind. I think during the season, it might be a different animal. I mean, that's neither here or there. We went in with the same exact teams for the Premier Challenge as the regionals. Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't go in with anyone different. I did change Rotom's Dark Pulse to be Terra Steel or Terra Blast so that I can use Terra Steel. And I gotta say, guys, Terra Blast is being slept on so much.
Big time. I think that a lot of people love it, but I agree. It's a great move.
Like during our Premier Challenge, I had people asking me like, why Terra Blast on Garchomps? Like, so I can use a fairy move on someone that doesn't do well against fairy, or it's neutral to everyone else, but if it's fire, I can earthquake you to the ground.
I feel like the real reason of that is because Garchomp might be in your top 3 favorite Pokemon. And it's such a great and innovative way to keep him relevant, because he has such a problem in his typing, and just changing it to anything makes him incredibly valuable.
Yeah,
his stats are perfect.
Yeah, and I didn't want to put him with typical ground, because I did do that first, and I got shut out a lot. Like one shot because Iron Bundle is going to be faster than he is. Palafin was still around and ground's weak against water. So I changed it to fairy in the off chance, like, you know what? This has like 9% usage on Pokemon Home when you look at the battle data. I'm going to bring it into a regional and see what people say about it. And I caught people off guard and they loved that. And it's like, why that? It's like, well, you're using a dark Pokemon that obviously gets one shot by this guy. And they just kind of looked at me funny. I wasn't wrong.
The defensive Terra is what's being really slept on, or at least it was the first 6 months of competitive play. So many teams that were winning well were offensively Terraing, and then Portland had the winner have a flying Torkoal. You with the fairy Garchomp didn't really play the signature aside from flying Mousehold like that, or flying Tyranitar.
I think your T-Tar was probably like your capstone Pokemon of that tournament.
Certainly. People really undervalue a Mousehold Tyranitar opening when they're looking at a team sheet with Annihilate Mousehold. And so it's a completely different game plan, because not only do you have the double special defense boost, but now you're adding in the Friend Guard boost, and Mousehold doesn't take damage from the sand with his little safety goggles. So it was really strong, but I gotta give it way up to the other two Annihilate teams that made it to day 2. They were both significantly better. I slept on power of Mousehold and Tinglu with Annihilate rather than just one or the other.
Something that I want to ask you, since the regional, especially since Regulation D started, have you seen a ton of Tinglus in your coverage?
I think that it's more than Wo Chen, but it's less than Chi Yu and less than Chen Pao. I feel like at the higher Master Ball tier, it's a combination. So like you would have Chen Pao and Tinglu, or you might just have Chen Pao, but I found it rarer of those three combinations to have just Ting-Lu. Ting-Lu is just such a underrated Pokemon for its move pool. Taunt specifically is such a revelation since the NAIC, because you can stuff a lot of Among Us sets at the door with having all sorts of other tricks up its sleeve. I think a lot of us really just stuck it in the square peg of Assault Vest user because of its insane bulk. But having things like trapping moves, Citrus Berry works so well with it, and obviously Ruination is always fun. I always support a move that just takes half your health as damage.
I love Ruination. I wish I'd plant or used it better, because like when I saw that, my Chien-Pao ran Ruination instead of Sucker Punch. And I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna use this first, and then my other Pokemon's gonna attack after that, knock out this Pokemon. It's gonna be like a one-hit KO, because like one does half damage, can't be negated, doesn't regardless of what your stats are, it just drops your health to half. And the other one's going to knock you out. And then I realized that one Pokemon would attack before that. And I'm like, but why though?
Meanwhile, you could just have the thing that might knock out a Pokemon upright with Sucker Punch, because of the same type attack bonus and the Sword of Ruination. Like, Chien-Pao was, I think, the least guy that you should run Ruination with, but you loved Ruination on him right away.
It was just like Super Fang, man, and everyone was using it for Mousehold, and I was like, I want that too. I will have it too. And it just didn't work because my Pokemon were fast, and I'm like, but why though?
Yeah, I think I might undervalue speed if you overvalue speed. I think you always want some sort of ways to control not what's like on the paper for your speed, and then having like a couple of guys on a team that are speed. You're gonna see later in the Master Ribbon Challenge breakdown that goes out the window, and I just adopt your mentality for 2 weeks. But I'm more likely to play a Trick Room or a Tailwind with regular speed tier guys than with hyper speed. I think that once the second DLC comes out and Whimsicott makes his appearance, the ape will return to knock out everybody.
Oh, Whimsicott.
But until then, I'm gonna keep him. I'm keeping my Anita in her Moonball and out of the Master Ribbon Challenge for a good while, I think.
It's probably a good idea, because I think everyone's gonna want that Annihilate set.
Yeah. I think my gut is that if I posted that team with the other four, that either Beast Ball, Mousehold, or one of the two Farigiraf guys would be gone. But thankfully that it was not part of our challenge to start upright.
Yeah.
Because I love that team. I'd like to use it again.
You might want to, like, because your Pokemon are always in a special ball, you should probably like breed some of them so that you keep that Pokemon in their special ball.
Oh, certainly. Listener, if you get my Pokemon, just know that I'm going to take 16 hours to breed it out and make sure that I have a replacement before you get it. You're going to get that Pokemon, but I'm going to keep Beast Ball, Mousehold, and Moonball, Annihilate even if they go. But Anita specifically, I would have a hard time losing.
Yeah.
Because I've had that one. I've retrained it effort value-wise for 6 months. So, like, I feel very connected to that Pokemon, but it will be on a Master Ribbon Challenge team, for sure.
For sure. I kind of want to turn it over to the Duke here. He's been kind of quiet. How's your coverage been of VGC so far?
VGC?
Yeah.
Almost non-existent.
We had a couple friendly tournaments. I think that was.
I haven't really played. Yeah, we did a couple of those 2 little tournaments that we did, 2 or 3 that we did amongst ourselves. And then I jumped on the ladder once or twice, but it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't feel my thing. It doesn't feel like my thing.
You are the person that I'm thinking about most when I'm doing the Master Ribbon Challenge, because I share the rental codes. You could just pick up one of these teams. So my breakdown is mostly going to be to you, and I would like a Mike grade, the Duke grade on each team if it's a meh or a yes.
What you're asking for is His Grace, the Duke of Ormond, the Right Honorable Baron of Sealand, Reverend of the Universal Life Church, Chef grade. That's what you're looking for.
That's correct. we'll be doing
Okay.
that as the breakdown of the team.
And yes, listener, I did just drop every single one of my titles.
Is that 6 titles?
4. It's
4.
4 because I
Copy
am His Grace the Duke of Ormond. I am also the Right Honorable Baron, Lord Baron of Sealand. I am a Reverend of the Universal Life Church. Took 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. 5 minutes to become ordained. And seeing how I had a catering company, I'm allowed to call myself a chef. So there you go. Plus, 2 years of Le Cordon Bleu kind of helps with some of that stuff.
That's 5 titles.
Cordon Bleu, of course,
No, it's
being
only
the
4.
very famous Northwest School of Culinary Arts.
Well, it's the very famous worldwide
Are they
School of
still?
Culinary Arts. They're not in the Pacific Northwest anymore. No, they have shut down a lot of their campuses. I'm not sure if they've shut down nationwide, but I'm pretty sure international is still going okay. But there's Le Cordon Bleus in Canada. I mean, of course, it started in Paris. So.
Oh, obviously they has to. I was gonna say, like, they have to, like, they were like top of the line for French cuisine at one point, weren't they?
They were. The only problem with Le Cordon Bleu is they kept their stuff like traditional French cuisine, traditional French culinary practices. They never upgraded, and that was the one. Why are we talking about this on a Pokemon podcast? Why are we talking about Le Cordon Bleu?
Because it's part of your titles of 700,000.
It's true.
Breadcrumbs, bro.
A lot of, if you walk into a modern kitchen, they're not doing a lot of the stuff that you were taught at Le Cordon Bleu, such as, they taught you how to make a hollandaise sauce traditionally. In a lot of the high-end restaurants, they're going to use a food processor to do that instead of a double boiler, whisking your eggs and adding stuff. Slowly, they're going to do it in a food processor with hot oil or hot melted butter instead of the way that you're taught in Le Cordon Bleu. So they taught a lot of traditional stuff, whereas in most modern, to save time is the big thing, is to save time, speed up the process to get food out.
So real quick to pivot back, Matt, what are your goals for 2024 as we look to the future?
So I would like to participate in one additional regional than I did in 2023. So 2.
So a total of 2. Okay.
And then I would love, if I can afford it, to attend an international championship.
Yeah, I've heard those are something else. They're always in Ohio. So, listener, I think we will be pooling our monies together and maybe wrangling some locals to go to Ohio next July for the NAIC. So as you listen, just know that we will be building towards trying to play at that high level. And so would it be 2 regionals and an IC, or 1 and 1?
I want to do 1 and 1.
Okay.
Because, like, depending on where the other regionals are, right? And we could possibly travel overseas. I'm not sold on the idea, but I would love to compete at a different international championships than just the States, if that makes sense.
Certainly. I think that's more of a 2025 push for myself. I'm going to try and qualify for Worlds and play at 2 ICs in 2025 season, but 2024, I think a real modest goal would be playing in our local regional and then traveling to the international championship. We are blessed to have a real lively local scene that humbled myself this past, I think, 2 weeks ago as of this recording.
Yeah.
They excite me so much. They really play at a high level of Pokemon. There were 3 of us at that last tournament that placed in day 2 for Portland, and they travel to many events. So, listener, we might even play in as many as 3 events in the 2024 season. But I think myself, I'd like to see real push for world competition in the 2025, which would be, if we are what it used to be as far as regulations, it would probably be a semi-restricted or open restricted format with things like Mewtwo and Groudon and Kyogre and Walking Wake.
Ew, but I'm excited.
Very excited. Always love to play in new and diverse formats.
So I want to touch base on something real quick. This is a highly competitive scene. Okay. I want everyone at home to fully understand emotions are going to get high. People get salty and people become extremely toxic. But I just want to remind everyone, it's just a game. Do your best and continue to learn And once you beat one objective, figure out how to beat the next objective. Always strive to learn, because if you sit and you wallow in this dark, putrid hatred that everyone has just because you lost, you're not going to be able to move forward. You have to sit, take a step back and go, how did I lose? How do I get better? And take the steps to continue to learn, because you're never going to proceed otherwise. But that doesn't mean that they're always going to be like that.
Yeah, I think that's prevalent in all sorts of competition. Not everybody handles a loss super well. Not everybody handles a win super well.
So we're in team 1. Oh yeah, you finished team 1, right?
Yes, we're talking about the first team on the Master Ribbon Challenge today. I'm gonna really be helped out here a lot by the Duke, because the Duke is not a heavy competitive player. I'm going to kind of break this team down and every subsequent team down to him as a not competitive player, and see what he grades it as. This first team, we got the full 100 games in. We're either going to keep the team of 6 Pokemon, the exact same 6 species for each of these teams for the 2 weeks, or 100 games, whichever comes first. Overall, it had a win percentage of 53%. So it's kind of an early iteration of Regulation D. This team was launched right when the new regulation started, so we were all kind of going in blind with just the ideas of what was probably good. This team actually features 2 of the top 3 in the first month of usage, with Fluttermane and Tornadus. But effectively, what it's named after and what its theme is spread hyper offense. Now, hyper offense is a strategy in doubles Pokemon where you just really worry about your offensive production and you don't have a whole lot of bulky Pokemon like Amoonguss or Tinglu. You more opt for faster, more heavy-hitting Pokemon like Fluttermane, Urshifu, Regieleki. This team, it hosts Regieleki, Tornadus, Chi-Yu, Fluttermane, Farigiraf, and Landorus. What this accomplishes as a whole is it allows for speed control with Tailwind, which doubles your speed, and it has Pokemon that are naturally the faster of the speed tiers. For instance, Fluttermane's item allows it to be faster than the king of speed right now, which is Basculegion in the rain. Basculegion is a new Pokemon from the Legends Arceus game that has ghost and water typing and doubles its speed in the rain, giving a big 286 maximum speed. Fluttermane with its item hosts a 287. So with the power of Tornadus, you get to also keep up if the opposing Rain player uses something like Tailwind, as well as be faster in everything on the board. Regieleki is our featured Pokemon that after 50 games was actually changed. It began as a purely offensive, utilizing Thunder, which is 100% accurate in the rain, and terrestrializing into ice for Terrablast, as Matt and I have both expressed such a slept-on move rather. But about 50 games in, it was pretty much confirmed that Regieleki, with its reduction in its transistor ability from Generation 8 to Generation 9, really lost a lot of its offensive prowess. And so instead, we opted for Light Clay and the Light Screen Reflect supportive combo, where Regieleki actually survives things like Landorus's Sandsteer Stream and Earthquake with the power of Reflect, and really giving this hyper-offensive team the bulk that it otherwise lacks. The MVP of the team is actually Farigiraf. Every time that we do one of these teams, we're actually calculating every individual Pokemon's win percentage as relation to when it enters the team, as well as every opening's winning percentage. And Farigiraf hosted a 61% winning percentage. This is because, much like Matt, the average player expects Farigiraf to be a slower, bulkier Pokemon, whereas with just 196 points in its investment, it gets to double to 1 higher than the Iron Bundles of the world under Tailwind. allowing for openings like Tornadus Farigarath, giving you priority and blocking priority simultaneously. The loser of the team is actually Landorus. Now, Landorus Therian is a very popular Pokemon. However, the incarnate form is often overlooked because of the special move pool, or rather lack thereof. This generation, it was granted a new move that is a spread attack. It hits both opposing Pokemon, and it's actually 100% accurate in the rain, and it's typing. Now, a combination that is not super well known, but if you're a seasoned player, you already know this. Sheer Force as an ability removes secondary effects of attacks and gives a 30% bonus to the attack. However, it also removes the recoil damage from Life Orb. So when you give the what's that?
Said stupid. Sorry. Go ahead.
With the item Life Orb, you get an additional 30% on top of the Sheer Force 30%, with a 50% same type attack bonus on Sandsteer Storm. So even though it's really the only attack Landorus boasts that's amazing, it is a game-winning attack if the other side does not have Wide Guard. Sludge Bomb was chosen for its coverage move because many fairies and Pokemon will often terrasilize into grass when they see a Landorus, and this gives you a super effective option. Fun fact, instead of 90, Sludge Bomb has a base power of 117 with Sheer Force. So combining that with the Life Orb means for some pretty easy dink and dunks. Most terrasilizations are defensive, with the exception of Fluttermane being fairy, and Farigarath being actually a water terrassilization to combine even better in the rain, and will actually one-hit KO a Ursaluna if you have the Throat Spray bonus from its item. So a first turn of Hyper Voice Tailwind and a second turn of Terrastalized Terrablast and Rain Dance will knock out Ursaluna's all day, who is a much feared Pokemon in the current meta. But way more importantly, it survives Urshifu Rapid Strike with over 60% of its health when it terrastilizes into water, which, as anyone who plays competitively right now knows, Urshifu being the number 2 or 3, depending on the day, Pokemon in usage, is a problem.
Currently, and I'll answer that for you, he is number 2 at 48.98%, and Fluttermane just 0.05% above that.
Most teams that are really high on the ladder right now will actually use Fluttermane and Urshifu, but I wanted to do the fans a service in making a more themed first team. And the really cool part about this team is if the other side doesn't have a Wide Guard, it can basically just knock out all 4 Pokemon in 2 to 4 turns. It's really fun to play. It's pretty easy to counter. The final standings it reached were rank 3,369. It had one combination that I didn't use in its live action tournament that actually went 10-1. Teams that had Tornadus and Farigarath as the opening only lost one game in all 100 of the games, and it was not used once in the live action. So my promise to the fans is that I will get better at translating live play from ladder play. The most used team was 16-17, Regieleki and Tornadus, which was a fun double speed control kind of opening, but I would not really recommend it if you want to win at high levels. I would recommend one of the other openings. The rental code is on my Twitter, which is at AceTrainerJT. It's also linked on Team Unconventional's Twitter and will be linked on this podcast. I have broken down the team ad nauseum, and my mouth is very dry. Duke, do you have any questions before your final ranking?
First of all, I would like to say that you're putting way too much responsibility on me. But, as you, Duke, I will have to admit that, I don't honestly know, to be, everything's, you're throwing out stuff there that as a competitive Pokemon, as a non-competitive Pokemon player, I don't really pay attention to.
Apologies.
No. You are doing your thing. It's your thing. I don't know what I'm saying there, but you're doing this because you want other players to learn, and that's what I'm doing. You have a lot of Pokemon that I know. Landorus, Tornadus, You said you were playing Urshifu.
No, not on this
No,
team.
you're playing
Regieleki,
Regieleki
Chi-Yu, and Farigiraf, along with
along
Fluttermane.
with Fluttermane. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, those are. I know who those guys are. So we can start there. I
Good.
know that Regieleki, from what we've talked about before, has an advantage in speed.
Currently the
Isn't he
king
right
of
up
base
there?
speed. In base stats, he is number 1, and it's not even close. His in-game name, if you're listening, and you want Regieleki as your prize, is Ricky Bobby, because nobody's faster, except for other Regielekis.
And also, there may be a cougar in the card. But yeah, I mean, like I said, not playing competitive Pokemon like you guys do.
Mhm.
I don't know the value of certain things because I don't really do anything in Scarlet and Violet right now, except I'll jump on and do some surprise trades. I am thinking about going through the tournament thing again to get some cash. So I know that speed is king. It seems
Speed's fun.
because as Matt said, if you get a go first, you can attack first, and if you attack first, you win first.
That's a lot of if Hyper Offense had a motto, that would be it. I wanted to start this
So-
challenge emulating Matt for this first team.
That's a good person to emulate.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Matt, shall we?
Except when you're using Trick Room, and then you beat me.
So basically, Duke, if you broke it down real simple, everybody on the team, the theme is everybody on the team can attack both guys at once. And
Okay, that's good.
they are some of the fastest guys, and they block priority boosted moves.
See, those are good things.
Those are good things. One of the
Those
best
are-
plays and most fun plays is Chi-Yu reduces special defenses by a quarter. And so many teams would have an opening that would have one or more, both guys looking to do what we call spread moves that hit both Pokemon. And then at the last minute, you switch one of them for Chi-Yu, which reduces the defenses. And as the opposing player, it throws off your mental calculation as what you will play, because now you're taking an additional amount of damage from that big attack. So
Well,
many
see, there
mind
you go.
games in the team. Very straightforward. I like that you know all of them. That means that I'll probably get the yes and not the.
Well, I know all of them. Yes, I'm pretty sure I know them all. Farigiraf, the giraffe one. I don't know him too well.
He's new. Yeah, he's new.
We haven't gone out for a pint yet, so.
I would recommend giving the rental code a try sometime if you ever want to play with him, because he's a lot of fun. Matt has whined and bemoaned the powers of priority, and to be able to shut them off, especially in Regulation D, is a mighty powerful thing. I've tried to get him to convert to my ways of just not caring about priority with these kind of guys. Maybe in Regulation E, he will start to see my ways.
Wouldn't count on it.
They gotta be fast.
One of them is fast. I swear, listener, I'm trying here. You'll see a team one week that has it, and he'll be like, "Oh, that's fast. I like fast."
It's really funny, right? I say that, and it's only because of the fact that I love the fact that Tailwind is been my saving grace. Now, the last couple episodes I've recorded for my YouTube channel, I have taunted more things that I never thought that I would need to taunt. And I always thought, oh, they got a Metzel Herb, I'm not going to worry about it. No, it's 1B games now because they're not carrying it anymore. And I'm like, yes, do that. Yeah.
Right now, the competitive scene definitely seems to be leaning towards more the Rocky Helmets of the world rather than the mental herbs. And so taunt is taking another step in its dastardly ways. So being able to Tailwind while being immune to the taunt is incredibly powerful.
We are close to time, gentlemen. Is there anything that you guys want to say before we close out the session?
Well, we have a final Duke ratings. So
we do.
Go ahead,
on your team?
Yes.
Yeah, I give it. It sounds good. Yeah. Yeah, good.
A Robert De Niro sounds good. I like it.
Yeah. I would like to put out there, just in case, I mean, we had 60 last time I checked, at least 60 views, because I know 2 of them were me. I watched it once, and then I forgot the outtakes. I had to go back to the outtakes. So I know we had at least 60 views on the last podcast, which, hey. Let's put out the fact that if you're playing Scarlet and Violet and you don't know about the new mystery gift that was released in the last couple days, it's Dark Terra 0006. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I want it to be a surprise.
I was just about to spoil it. I'm glad that I waited.
I also know that in the next week or so that another mystery gift is coming, and I'm going to spoil this one. It will be a shiny Grimmsnarl.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Off of one of the winning Korean teams, I believe he's coming off of.
Correct.
So he will be competitively IV'd and ready to go.
Plus shiny.
But plus shiny, yes. So if are we ready to close this out now, gentlemen?
One more announcement, since you were kind of discussing that stuff. Next weekend, next Saturday, is the Rillaboom 7-star Terror Raid event. He's going to be normal, and he's already in and out of the ladder already. I've bought quite a few of them already, and it's going to be fun.
Pokemon. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Excellent Pokemon. I'm kind of excited how his raid's going to be and how hard it possibly will not be. I don't know. He's Terra Normal. A lot of things get through Terra Normal, and but he's a really hard Pokemon to beat. So let's see how that raid goes. That's
if you're a real Pokemon master and you have Pokemon Arceus, this will be easy peasy lemon squeezy.
I guess that's his way of saying I need to play Pokemon Arceus.
Oh yes, if you want to beat any 6-star raid under the sun that's not Steel by yourself easily and beat with a team, any 7-star, you got to get yourself Arceus. It's an incredible Pokemon. Its move pool is small, but it's really powerful, and it's my favorite new raid Pokemon ever.
Well, that's good to know.
Drop us a like, though, listener.
Are we ready to close this out now, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah.
Oh, one more thing on the Master Ribbon Challenge.
Yes,
we're gonna post on the Team Unconventional Twitter the parameters of how you win and whatnot. So stay tuned.
All right. Is it time now?
Yes.
For me to shill? Is it time for me to shill?
Yeah, time for you to shill. Go ahead. Get us out of here, Mike.
Ladies and gentlemen, peasants of all ages.
Oh, no.
We love you. We're happy to have you here. If you like the content, please make sure to like and subscribe. Also, any companies that want to sponsor us, please, we'll take the money. We'll take it. We're not above this. We'll sell out. We'll sell out. But again, if you enjoy the content, if you enjoy listening to us, if anything we do brightens your day, if we make you laugh, please make sure you like and subscribe. Turn the notifications on so that you're notified every time, not only that Matt releases a video, but that the podcast is released as well. So, Matt, if you'd like to close this out, I think I've done my shilling.
No,
I think I've done it well.
Yeah, no, you pretty much did it. So thanks for listening, guys.
One more thing.
Oh, sorry.
Stay humble, peasants. Stay humble.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. That's it for today's episode of the Team Unconventional podcast. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you next time. We will be speaking about Pokemon Unite, actually. We've been wanting to dive into that game for a while. Umbreon was released like a week and a half ago by the time that you guys see this podcast. So, it was released, and he's kind of a tank. I kind of like him, but
wait a minute. You're dropping this at the end? This little breadcrumb?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna be playing Unite over the next 2 weeks and coming back. Has anybody played Unite in the last 6 months?
Nope. Hello, Pokefans. Welcome back to a brand new podcast of the Team Unconventional Cast. My name is Matt, and I'm joined again by my gracious hosts and fellow podcasters, JT.
I would say that the Duke is the gracious host, and I'm the fellow podcaster.
Fair. And the Duke, Mike Mann himself.
Hello, my peasants.
Oh, dear God, we're not doing this.
It is.
Keep going.
True fans know.
Yeah, I can't continue.
Our what?
Time out. Are we starting or are we just?
No,
Yeah, we're
that's
the Take Two crew.
we're
That's what Mike is saying right now.
we already started the bloop. No, just kidding. Yeah, we'll do second take again. God damn
Take
it.
two.
It wasn't me this
Take
time.
two.
What up?
No,
What up, dog?
it wasn't you.
Ooh,
It wasn't
ooh,
you.
ooh.
It was Matt.
I'm a good boy this week.